Hey there. Oh, welcome to In the Know with Robbie Co. I'm Robin Aluco, and I'm your host. Uh, I'm a real estate agent, insurance agent, and public notary licensed in Pennsylvania, as well as the owner of Robbie Co. and Associates LLC. Now, you may remember me as Delilah Robin of the Delilah Robin Show, which broadcasts each Sunday at 106.5 FM. That was a music show. Now we're going to talk about something real important, and that's real estate, something that we don't have enough of. Today, our guest is the president of the Philadelphia chapter of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which is NAREB. Na- uh, the Philadelphia Metropolitan Board of Realtists is the Philadelphia chapter of that 75-year-old trade organization. Now, I got to tell you, I haven't done this in a long time, and I'm excited to have Annette Collier as our guest today. Annette is a graduate of Lincoln University. She's a realtor, a realtist, a broker of Able Real Estate, which was established more than 20 years ago. Now, if you don't know Annette, you should know that she has served in many leadership positions within NAREB for Pennsylvania and Delaware. She's also served as the vice president and chair of the Political Action Committee for PMBR. She has been a political liaison for the Realtist Association of Delaware, which is also called RAID, as well as the assistant to the Region 3 vice president of NAREB, which covers Pennsylvania, Delaware, and West Virginia. Now, because of NAREB's educational opportunities, Annette Collier was able to get her REMBI, Certified Real Estate Management designation, as well as participate in large, low, moderate residential development because of educational opportunities that were provided by the United Developers Council and the REO Sales Division. As a realtist political liaison, she's been able to engage more in the drive and advocacy for democracy and housing, which is her true passion. Now, whether you're here in the United States or if you're across the sea, Annette is willing and able to work with any buyer, seller, developer, or investor. Annette's passionate, and you're going to see that in our interview today about working with people from all backgrounds. And I want you to know that this episode of In the Know with Robbie Co. is sponsored by Robbie Co. and Associates. And let's stay tuned for this message from our sponsor. And when we come back, we'll have Annette join the show. At Robbie Co. and Associates, we help business owners protect what matters most. For many years, we've specialized in working with real estate agents and investors in other service-based businesses like beauty and nail salons, barbershops, and much more. I'm also a real estate agent and public notary for Pennsylvania. At Robbie Co. and Associates, we're licensed to discuss insurance products in 13 states. We can help you customize an insurance solution to protect your assets, especially as your business grows. We educate our clients to help them make better choices because we understand your business and we want to know you. Contact us today to learn more about how we can help you make better business decisions and protect what matters most to you. Now, if I told you that I tested that like 99 times before today, you probably wouldn't believe me, but I'll say welcome back. You're tuned in to In the Know with Robbie Co., and I am Robin Aluco. Today, our guest is Annette Collier, a real estate professional. Please welcome to the show, Annette. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Robin. I love the commercial. You look fantastic. And I'm just so honored to be on your show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have to say, since I met you a few months ago, I have been totally impressed with everything that you have been doing. As far as your engagement in the community, your concern about political issues, and your support of candidates who were running for city office. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate all that you're doing, and I'm looking at you because I want to learn to make an impact in the community in the way that you've done. And so I appreciate that you're spending time on our first episode of the first season of In the Know with Robbie Co. And so today's broadcast is all about how to build wealth with real estate. But before we do that, I'd like you to give us an opportunity to learn more about the organization, Philadelphia Metropolitan Board of Realtist, and how it came to be.
Right. Thank you so much. And I'm humbled by your comments. I mean, I'm very gracious for that. And in regards to who the Philadelphia Metropolitan Board of Realtors is that we're a chapter, as you mentioned earlier, of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. We actually will be 75 years old in July of this year. So we're ecstatic about that. As far as who we are, democracy in housing, that's you're going to always see that in regards to NAREB since 1947. And I just also want to mention a couple of historical things before I proceed on. But NAREB was very instrumental with Brown versus the Board of Education, the Civil Rights Movement and Act, and also the Fair Housing Act. So we do have a NAPAC 1947 that is in existence. And I can't say enough in regards to supporting politicians. We have to, the same money we use at retail stores, we've got to back those people who are supporting our interest. So that is really who NAREB is. Now, I am the acting president for, we're going to use the acronyms PMBR. You all now have heard the name. And I am acting president because our president, Christopher B. Sample, those who are in the legislative world and in the community, they should very well know who he is. So when he took ill, he asked me to step in as president. And unfortunately, in January of this year, he passed away. But it was an honor to know and work with Chris for over 20 years. He was actually at my brokerage for close to 20 years, which is Able Real Estate. We're licensed Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and Maryland. So it was very sad to see him go, but I'm honored in him allowing me to serve on his behalf. In my administration, the three things that I have really tried to focus on is empowerment, education, and employment. And let me be very clear. Our organization focuses on Black people. That is who we are. We were founded as a Black real estate trade association. We are the oldest Black association in the entire world. And so I never want that to be demised, because all throughout the trials and tribulations of some of those historical things I've mentioned, we continue to have boots on the ground going before Congress and our legislators to make sure that democracy and housing is still fought for. Now, when I talk about empowerment, the importance of that is people that are in the real estate industry, that they are made knowledgeable of the changing trends that are happening in real estate. In addition to that, consumers, it is very important, particularly Black consumers, step up the game and become knowledgeable about what has happened in the industry. So, for example, when the Fair Housing Act was signed in 1968, now I was 4 years old at that time, so it's amazing that, that wasn't that long ago, right? And so that home ownership rate of 55% has decreased to 44%. So we are advocating as an organization to increase that home ownership rate tremendously. I mean, we are the lowest percentile amongst all the minority groups, and of course the majority. So at 44%, we want to encourage people to get their credit right, go to housing counseling, know how to do a budget, because in order to be a person of substance, the ability to pull wealth, one of the largest assets that you are going to have is real estate. Right. There's nobody I know, that's poor. I don't know anybody that's rich. including celebrities that we all know that don't own real estate. I mean, you just saw what Beyonce and Jay-Z did. Come on.
Right. They just purchased that big property up in
Yeah.
California.
So that's fantastic. In regards to education, again, make sure that our members are aware of some of the trends, such as developing. There's a shortage of inventory throughout this entire country. And the way that we can help to resolve and increase our own home ownership is by developing. And so we always encourage people to want to own, and if we don't have it to sell, then we got to go create it.
Okay, so let's
Um,
talk about that for a little bit
mhm.
because that's something that's very important to me. And so this is what I'll say. We were on a meeting together not too long ago with the Philadelphia Land Bank. Now,
Oh, yeah.
naturally, we didn't know each other were there. I didn't know you were there, and you wouldn't have known I was there if I didn't say something
You got
when
a
I was on the
wonderful voice. You got a wonderful voice. I was like, wait a minute. I know that's Robin.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you recognize that I was there. Now, the thing that concerned me about that situation is really multifaceted. First, that the District 5, which I'm sitting in right now, is a district that is managed by the president of city council, number one. Number two, in this district, we have more vacant lots and properties than any other district in the city. That's number two. Number three is that for some reason, the person in charge with councilmanic prerogative was holding on to those lots and vacant properties for some reason. I don't know why. That was number three. Number four, now the land bank is saying we're going to give these parcels to somebody at a cost, but the properties that they were going to build, 12 single family properties, 1,000 square feet, and the price, $280,000. Now, when I was listening to that Zoom meeting, I was in my car, and so I didn't have access to the information. But when I finished the meeting, I looked up the information on the internet. The median income in that neighborhood tract, Strawberry Mansion 2, is less than $20,000. And the poverty rate is 44%. So who is buying the $280,000 properties and why are they making 12,000 thousand square foot properties? To me, that is not helping the problem that we have. They're building something, but it's not the right something, in my opinion. What do you think about that? How can we make things better?
Well, my understanding is that as you mentioned, the 280,000, there's like a $75,000 mortgage buy down, and then there are several mortgage grant products that are out there. Not really products, but grants to bring the price down. And so, just off the track, they got the more specific numbers, but let's just say it's 160,000. So 180,000. Let's go to 180,000. So when you look at 180,000, it could potentially be somewhere around $1,600, which is the average rent in Philadelphia right
Hmm.
now. And to your point, the target is not towards low to mod. That's not a low to mod cost. That's not it.
Right.
And I think that it may be targeted to city employees to encourage them to live in the city of Philadelphia.
Hmm.
I do agree that living in the city of Philadelphia, can help to increase the economy. However, I do also think that there's a need for low to mod. We have a fiduciary responsibility as citizens and our political people to make sure that everybody has housing.
Right.
So I'm an advocate of that. But to your point, it would be someone who's employed anywhere $60,000 on up. And if you look at some of the grants that are out there, you can make what, as much as $72,000 as an individual and get
Hmm.
the grant. So let's just be real about this.
Well,
That
I
may
would
not be
say
the average black person, okay?
it's not the average city employee either. Now, as a person who retired from the city of Philadelphia after working there for almost 25 years, I can say that even with the buy down and the grant, I could not afford to purchase the house that I'm in now, the house I'm in right now, or that other house that we're talking about for 174, 180, or whatever it is. I couldn't afford that with my city salary without struggling. I could pay it, but I wouldn't be able to play on some other things, like maybe buy food or have a cell phone or whatever else it is that I'm supposed to have because it to me, I hear what you're saying, and I understand about the buy down. And the person who was in charge of that meeting that day indicated that there were some opportunities for a lower price to the person who's actually buying the property. But again, I say even with my being a city employee, and I had a good job, my highest income before I retired was enough that I should be able to buy that house, but because of interest rates, inflation, and some other things that we have to deal with, I don't see those properties as affordable. And so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I think that we're building properties, but we're not building properties for the people who need them. And one other thing, and I'm going to go back to you, I'm going to ask you this question. That's not a question that I had planned to ask, but one thing that I found quite impressive about former city council person Derek Green is that he wanted to examine the possibility of room occupancy to be able to write that back into zoning so that people who can't afford an apartment 1600 or a house 17 1800 whatever it is, um, that they would be able to have a place to go, hopefully with a kitchen and a bath, or just a bathroom in the room, and then let that be it. $500, $600 for senior citizens or whoever else couldn't afford it.
Well,
What do you think
let's
about
talk
that?
about that. Let's talk
Sure.
about that for a second. I know we off the script, but it makes it even better, right?
Hmm.
So some months ago, NAREB has a division called the Urban Developers Council, and the chair of that is Kenneth Morrison out of New York. And I know later on you're going to ask me some questions, and I can get more into his particular committee.
Hmm.
But he had a guest on there. This woman was out of New York, I believe Brooklyn. And what she does is the concept of shared housing.
Oh, okay. That
Right.
sounds interesting. I'd like
So
to hear
when
more
you
about that.
exactly. So the way that she described it was that they would take two individuals, whether you knew each other or not. And I'm just using two for the sake of the space that you mentioned, 1,000 square feet or whatever. And then they would help them legally in terms of ownership, because in New York, the cost to live is even greater than here in Philadelphia.
Right, right.
And the people, they're struggling too. I mean, so that was the concept. And I do think that there needs to be more conversation about shared housing. How do we make that work? So, for example, my family was very poor out of Macon, Georgia.
Hmm.
My aunt, the men went to war. My aunt Charlie, she came to Philly and bought the family and said, "Hey, it's industrial." She died in '93, so you can imagine how far back that was.
Hmm.
They lived in the projects, and everybody in the household wound up getting a job because one person do a good job. They tell their employer, and my family always worked at the same companies because of that, right?
Hmm.
And so they would pay my aunt money every week. She would make sure all the household bills was taken care of, and then my family would save individually their own money.
Right.
Everybody stayed in the same house or apartment or whatever it was
Hmm.
until they got ready to get married. When they got ready to get married, they already had some money put aside. That is how we did our home ownership. We did not start. I mean, my family was dirt poor. Like my dad said, they used to go out and wring a chicken to eat it. That's how poor they were. So when they
That's
came north,
funny, but
the
not funny.
industrialization, it changed the whole trajectory for my entire family.
Hmm.
We're a very blessed family. So reality is we got a very high homeless rate in Philadelphia, and homeless, let me make sure everybody is clear. You do not own a deed and you do not own a lease, which means that anybody can put you out. You be staying with some people, but they could put you out at any given time, and
Right.
you could be down near Suburban Station, which is a disgrace because people are homeless. And of course, we know mental health. But a lot of times when you become homeless, that's when the mental health kicks in because you're experiencing things that you were sheltered from before when you were behind four walls.
Right.
So that's the situation with that. And I pray that the new mayor, hopeful, Sherelle Parker, that will be a part of her administration in addressing it. I know that she is aware
Hmm.
because I've spoken in regards to homelessness when she was campaigning. So that is we have a responsibility. Religious institutions, I don't care what the faith is, we have that responsibility to take care of the people.
Okay, now I know that we did not discuss this at all, but there's two things that you said today that have resonated as true with me, and that is putting two people together. I used to say, now this is going to be strange. Please don't judge me, but this is what I used to say. I used to say that, okay, if you're a dude and you got five or three or two, whatever baby mamas, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, you have kids together, all of y'all get together and stay in the same house and buy the house together and you live there. Whoever's going to go to work or whatever. I don't care if they have a relationship with each other. I mean, that kind of relationship with each other or not. But they're all together. They're living together, and they're all caring for each other in the same house that they own. It could be a duplex, a triplex, a single family house, whatever they decide it's going to be, and they have to just be grown up enough about it to say, okay, we're going to live here together. Or I used to say, girl, you got your good girlfriend over there. Why don't you get a house with your girlfriend, a duplex, a triplex, whatever it is, a single family home, and you buy the house together and you live there together. That's something I'm a big proponent of. So it's interesting to hear you say that there's somebody else out there also singing that song.
Oh yeah, it's working for her. The woman that was doing it, I do not have her name, but her background, she's a mortgage broker.
Mm.
So she understands about finance and
And
she
so,
knows how to make that work. And in the same token, don't become house poor. So you should have, depending on your lifestyle, if you're in the cars, if you're in the traveling, you should not have to sacrifice that in order to get a house and to stay in a house.
absolutely. And
So you could
also
be
to maintain it.
maximized with the mortgage, but that doesn't mean you got to use all of that. I mean,
That's
although
right.
pricing is higher because we got a shortage of inventory.
Right. And
But
so,
the third thing that I did want to speak on was employment. And I want to make sure that our lenders and our partners, NAREB and also locally, that they have Black people working for them. And I speak of the whole African diaspora. So not just, somebody that was Black, born in America. They could be a Black person born Africa, the Caribbean. That's what I would like to see. Because as I mature in this business, we have to make sure that there are people like you and I, Robin, that can continue this torch and hold these institutions accountable. If there are no people that look like us working for them, they will do business as usual because there's nobody advocating and remind them. See, when you're not living the experience, you can't talk about the experience
mhm.
because you're
And
not living it.
that's absolutely true. A lot of people don't understand what it is that because we're talking about black people, I'm just going to say black people. I'm not going to add and brown, just black people. That we face a lot of different things, and that's the next question that I wanted to ask you. Like from your experience, what are some of the key challenges that potential home buyers face in today's real estate market? Now, you talked earlier about that there's a lack of inventory. What are some of the other things that we have to deal with?
Well, and because you did make it very specific, Black people. I mean, I mentioned about the percentile. So we're 44%. God willing, we continue to increase. Well, the number one thing is there are some people that have never in their lifetime seen anybody in their family own real estate. They've been renting. And so, unfortunately, there are some people that may be on Section 8 and they may be paying, 30% of the rent or no percent at all because Section 8 is covering them. But oftentimes people forget about the self-sufficiency program. Now, when I talk to people on Section 8, they're like, oh, what's that? Okay, well, we have to make sure that people know that started when I opened my office up. That's been like 21 years ago under Carl Green.
Hmm.
So
Oh, are
you
you
can be
talking
on
about?
Section 8. You could be on Section 8 and own, okay?
You're
You
saying
own your
Carl
own house.
Green, the head honcho of PHA. Is that who you meant?
Yeah, back in the day. He's not there
Okay,
now.
okay.
But
It's
he started the self-sufficiency program in Philadelphia, which in my opinion was a large success. And it was my honor to make sure that people that, I knew that might be on Section 8, because we also do property management, that they
Hmm.
know that option, because that's the only way that those numbers of 44%, that's not the only category of black folk that are on Section 8. It's a gamut, and we can get into that. But oftentimes they don't know that's their option. You can turn that voucher over to home ownership. So anybody that's listening to this, if you have a caseworker or a contact at a housing authority, you should ask them about the self-sufficiency, because we got to turn this whole thing around. I talked about how my family turned it around, moving here into industrialization. Now
Hmm.
today, you could be on Section 8 and you could own. Go take advantage of that.
And a lot of people don't know about that program. So today's topic is building wealth with real estate. And so let's pause here because you do make an interesting point. Before COVID, I had an opportunity to participate in a PHA sponsored program over at, I can't think of it, but it's some community center, very nice building in North Philadelphia. There,
11th and Poplar,
that sounds familiar, but I'm not
that's where they
sure.
used to be at all the
There
time. And
was
that's where they would do the,
hundreds of
yeah,
people there,
exactly.
and it was amazing to me seeing all of the people who were there wanting to learn about job opportunities, wanting to learn how to buy
Yes.
a house, wanting to learn, just get a degree or finish a high school diploma. There were so many people there. I was just totally touched about how many people there were there to get the information. But let's take a step right now as an aside to find out more about that home ownership program that PHA offers for people who have a housing voucher that they can get a house and own the house. And then let's segue into the average person, like a person who goes to work every day making about 40, 30, $50,000. And then let's talk about a developer or an investor. Let's talk about each opportunity that someone has to, at each of those levels, that someone has to purchase property and or develop property for resale or flip. Let's talk about that.
So, regarding the self sufficiency program, again, you should speak with your caseworker. You should find out when they have their classes. I do not have that information before me.
Hmm.
I know that the new office, and maybe that's where they do it now, I'm not sure. Over there, what's that, 19th and Ridge
Hmm.
is PHA's headquarters. But you should definitely look into that if that's what you want to do. Not everybody want to be a homeowner, so we got to
Correct.
acknowledge that as well. Because being a homeowner means you want to be a part of a community, and being a part of a community is making sure that you take care of that asset. Meaning, you no longer have somebody doing landscaping and sweeping and things like that. You now have to take on that responsibility. Nobody's cleaning the windows other than you.
Hmm.
That's being a part of the community. And so we have to be very transparent. That's what that is. You want to be a part of something that you can pass on generationally. And real estate is the greatest asset that I could think of. So, and then if you want to continue to move in the game, you become an investor. Like Robin, you spoke about multi-families, duplexes, triplexes. That's another way of doing share. Like, let's say you two can't live in the same space, the same unit. You can split that up. You
Right.
live in one unit, your sister, whoever, live on another unit. So, that's another option. And you should be able to have emergency money. So this is why doing a budget is so important, because you never want to be house poor. And in my opinion, you should have somebody, one person that makes the most money. That's the income that you depend on. The other money, go put that aside, take care of bills, whatever. But you got to have an emergency account. You got to do that.
Sure.
It's like an escrow account. So you notice when you do a mortgage, they require escrow money because they want to make
Right.
sure when the bill comes up for insurance that Robin will sell to you, that you have that ability of paying it. They're gonna pay that insurance. So that's how that works. So the same thing, that we can take that same concept and use it for ourselves. You can go create a vacation account. I know that some organizations, they're looking at encouraging their constituents to put money aside for their kids' education. And when I speak about education, I'm not talking about college only. I'm talking trade schools. Because in order to make this world go around, yes, we need to have the white collar professionals, but we also have to have the blue collar professionals. So I hope that
Absolutely.
answered that about Section 8. Then you wanted to go into the market sales, the person is working every day. Pretty much the same concept. Save the money, make sure that you are reviewing your credit. There's something called the annual credit report that you can see your credit for free every year. Now they're going to
Hmm.
charge you to see the score. I think they charge like $5 a report. And the three credit bureaus are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Everybody should be doing it. And let me also say this. As you're going through this process, I do not care what the age of your child is. Bring them along. That's what other people do. They're not sitting and just watching reality shows and talking to, having jokes and thrills. No, they talking about life. And I think that we need to spend more conscientious time about life so we could turn this number of 44% to 100%. We were brought over here as slaves, many of us. Don't be enslaved by letting somebody increase your rent because taxes are going up in Philly and you're trying to figure out where am I going to live. Like I'm over here in Mantua. People still coming in here asking for $800 rent.
I don't know that there's anything. Now, as a real estate agent, I did have a client. Well, I have a client who's looking for about $800, $900. And everything that I take him to see, he's like, I don't like this property. I mean, what do you expect that you're going to get? And so for me, I'm saying like when I bought my house 15 years ago, I paid $85,000 for this house. Now, if I had to buy this same house today with today's money, inflation, and interest rate, I would not be able to buy this house. But guess what? When I bought this house 15 years ago, my mortgage, including the tax, insurance, interest, and the principal payment, is less than $600 a month.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? And so a lot of people are missing out because they're either not acting, they're afraid to act, or they don't feel like they're prepared. Now, you and I went to a meeting in March for Convergence, which is a new initiative, and you were a big part of it, involving Wells Fargo, TD Bank, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and some other entities that I can't remember right now. But the whole purpose of that is to do what? Tell us about that because this
Yes.
is a big deal and I'm looking for information about it and I don't see anything, but you're a part of it. So please let us
Yes.
know.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. So, the Mortgage Bankers Association, I believe they're out of DC, they have piloted a couple of cities. One of the cities, Memphis, um, Ohio. What part? Columbus, Ohio
Hmm.
was another city, and Philadelphia is their third city. And as you mentioned, those banks are part of it. The purpose of this collaborative is to have a housing counselor, the realtist, which also I didn't say that, but we're not a realtor, we're a realtist, right? Because we couldn't be a realtor back in the 47s and all of that. So NAREB decided to call themselves realtists and
Hmm.
also lenders. So those are the three partners, and they have what's called work streams. I'm on a work stream called outreach and community service, I believe is what it is. And basically is to hear each of those entities. At one time there was a trust issue, so in regards to us sending business to a housing counseling agency because we were not getting the business back.
Right.
So some years ago, NAREB agreed to create NID, and NID is the housing counseling portion. It's an affiliate of NAREB that does the housing counseling. Now, we do not have a chapter in Philadelphia, but there are chapters in other parts of the country. And the main reason, as I said, was to ensure that we would get this customer back. So now All of that has been relayed to the various housing counseling agencies. And so it's us partnering. That's what's supposed to happen. And then the lenders hearing what some of the concerns are. One of the biggest concerns that I have is, I mentioned earlier, you're the first person to ever buy a home. That's a scary thing, because I remember when I was 24 and I was the first to buy
Hmm.
for myself. My parents owned their home. And when I went, I was scared. I don't even know if they had housing counselors back then. I was 24, so I forgot what year that was. But, but nevertheless, housing counseling is extremely important. They really got well known during the eviction moratorium in all across the United States, because it was required, particularly in Philadelphia and some other cities, that mediation took place between the tenant and the landlord, so people didn't just get thrown out on the streets.
Hmm.
So, and I'm a mediator also. So, and of course I disclose all that. And of course I didn't handle any cases, pertaining to my company, but nevertheless, that was instrumental, because now the public had to know what a housing counselor was. And I'm 100% in agreement, because a lot of times people get put out of the rentals. Number one, you have no plan. I'm a property manager. We go to court. Okay, what's the plan? They don't know how to make the plan because they've never been educated in school or anywhere else. Because I'm in or I'm not in, I'll just go move in with Boo or somebody.
Hmm.
And so I thought that that was a great thing that existed. And so the housing counselors helped them to do a budget. And my prayer for everyone is that they know that that's a process in regards to eviction, and also when it comes to home ownership, buying, and in the event that you wind up going into foreclosure. Please, please, please do not wait to the last moment to seek assistance. Robin, are you still there? Think I lost you.
I'm here. I just wanted you to be the focus of the
Oh, okay.
conversation.
No problem.
So I
Yeah.
just wanted you to be the focus because you're saying some stuff that's very important.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
as far as the foreclosure is concerned, I can't tell you enough how people who have properties are unaware. Let me just stop. People don't know what they don't know. And as a notary, Pennsylvania notary, I found, and I keep saying this, and some people say, yeah, I could agree with you. Some people say, no, I don't see how that's possible. But as a notary, one of the things that I used to do during the pandemic would be refinances and loan modifications. I would get those refinance package, those purchase packages or sales packages, whatever. And then I found that most of the people who were buying or who were doing a refinance and or doing a refinance and taking money out, they're taking out equity, were white or East Indian from India for loan modifications, meaning I'm past due on my bill.
Yeah.
Now I got to make some a special arrangement with my company, either Wells Fargo, Citizens Bank, or Bank of America, whichever one. And so most of those people, I'm going to say 99% of those people were black. And on the other side, for refinances and purchases, 99% of those people were white. And I found it troubling that we had all of this money in the economy that the government put in the economy. They put it in the stock market, so people who were able to make trades in the stock market during the pandemic. A lot of those people made out very well. And here we go. I'm seeing today we're going right now into the stock market, and the government is taking money out of it. So they're going to lose because they missed the train that was in the station when it was there. So can you go over and tell us what advice would you give to somebody who was interested in building wealth with real estate? We talked about budgeting, we talked about making sure they're not house poor, but what kind of tips and tricks can you offer to someone who maybe already has a house as a primary residence, but now they want to do something else, maybe like buy a duplex or up to four a quad, or buy another single family property, what advice would you give to somebody who wanted to expand what they already have, and what
Right.
steps should they take to get there?
Well, the first thing, stop letting your grandmother's house go to foreclosure because you don't want to pay the tax bill. 9 times out of 10, the value of the property is much greater than the cost of the tax, right? So
Right.
I've seen people. It's a disgrace. I mean, it's very emotional for me because I've seen people, and specifically Black people, to lose their property 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, not being made aware that they can make a payment arrangement and all of that. The need for, dealing with the register of wills, transferring deeds. So when you need financial assistance from the government, you're able to do so.
Right.
Hold on to the property if you are able to do so, right? Refinance, take the money out. A lot of people are making money. I love this new generation. They don't do the typical rentals that I do. They're doing Airbnb, and these kids, and I'm saying Black kids as well, that are making that money. They are doing extremely well with Airbnb.
Hmm.
And I think that, we look at a condition of a property and they're like, oh, I don't want that. Like a pair of shoes. I've seen that happen. A lot of the furniture that I have in my house and in my home, I've even acquired a fur because the family, it was an estate property. The family's like, oh, you can just do whatever you want with the stuff.
Hmm.
I refurbish that stuff. So you ever come over here? I got stuff in my office. You'll never know the difference. I reupholstered it, got some fabric, got a staple gun. You never know the difference. We waste. Other people recycle. Oftentimes, you don't even know the value of something that you're throwing out. Well, you can go get that appraised.
Absolutely.
Go down there to Antique
Absolutely.
Road, 11th and Pound or whatever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So we've lost a lot of wealth because of just not knowing. And I think that families have to make sure that they put a will together, an asset sheet, so that the relatives know, even if you don't want it, go sell it, go get some money. Because when you throw that in the trash, you notice that there are people that pick trash up. They're
Right.
going to go make money off of what you calling trash.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm one of those people that's going to collect your stuff now. I do that, but, you know, pre-COVID. But yeah, so that's what I would say in regards to that. Understanding asset, reaching out to a real estate professional, you, I, whomever, to provide you with a comparable market analysis. They may be able to assist you with a legitimate contractor that's licensed and bonded so that they can come in and tell you how much money it will take to bring this property up to par, so that you can use it as an investment. I'm going to share this story. This is going back some years ago. I bought a property over in Grace Ferry. And it's also important to read about real estate articles, or some of you that get it on your phone. Focus on real estate if that's what you want to do. I read an article in the Enquirer about Grace Ferry. That's where the Naval Hospital was, where, Toll Brothers wound up buying it. Toll Brothers had that property for many years. It used to be the old Navy Hospital.
Hmm.
And I happened to see, I was newly licensed. I think I've been licensed a couple of years as a real estate agent. And I saw this property for sale for $25,000. It was on Kimberly Street. Those of you in South Philly, you know where it's at. So I go and buy the property. I think I might have offered 24,000, something like that. Well, the gentleman that owned the property, he was in a nursing home in Arizona. And the day of the settlement, the real estate company that was selling the property, it was the wintertime. They forgot to winterize the property. I come in there, all the radiators unbusted.
Oh wow, that's horrible.
Them old radiators are very hard to carry. Well, I wound up getting another $10,000 taken off. No problem. I get the property for $14,000. I invest $10,000. I refinance it at $42,000. And let me see, my dad died in 98. 7 years later, I sold it for $167,000.
And what's your net gain?
When we subtract that out, what's that, like 120,000, something like that?
Okay, and you use that hundred and
And then
twenty
you get
thousand.
tax benefits too. Don't forget that, everybody.
And
When
so
you
it's
own, you writing off the interest.
so all of these things are things to consider
Oh, and
when
I
it
was
comes
renting it
to.
all throughout.
Hmm.
And every
So
year my rents was going up, up, up. Those little
okay,
art
so
students, they love that place.
if you are just tuning in, you're listening or watching. You're watching In the Know with Robbie Co. I am your host, Robin Aluko, and our special guest today is the acting president of the Philadelphia Metropolitan Board of Realtist, Annette Collier. When we return, we'll talk more about real estate, how to build wealth with real estate, and if you have questions, we'll be glad to answer them for you. We'll be right back with more after this message.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Do you know how to protect what matters most to you? At Robico and Associates, we do. Whether a new or existing business owner, you'll benefit by scheduling an insurance review with us. We offer all insurances, from business and key person to voluntary benefits like vision, dental, and cancer insurance. We don't just sell, we educate. Contact us today. We'll help you protect what matters most to you and your business.
Thank you for tuning in to In the Know with Robbie Co. I am Robin Aluko, real estate agent, insurance agent, public notary here in Pennsylvania. And our guest today is Annette Collier. She's everything. That's all I can say. Uh, Annette has such a wide range of experiences and a lot of skills and expertise that can help to elevate our people. Now, Annette, you said something a little bit earlier about properties. One of the songs that I have been singing recently is why can't we, since there are so many vacant properties or vacant and abandoned and deteriorating properties in the city of Philadelphia, why not get a 203K loan in order to go ahead and find one, maybe on a nice street, refurbish the house, move in. Now you have the equity as opposed to have a negative equity, possibly if you move into one that's already done for you. Do you want to talk about that at
Yeah.
all?
First of all, we need to take over the block. Like my whole family would live on the same block. They buy a house on the same block.
Right.
So that's one concept of creating the community, right? So you got several vacancies, and to your point, usually there is equity that is available in those properties, right? So number one, having a real estate professional provide you with the comps, having a contract to tell you what kind of monies it is that whatever it is that you want this house to look like that would be needed in order to get it there.
Hmm.
But as you know, Robin, we still deal with the issue of shortage of inventory. So
Sure.
what is happening is the home buyer or even a native of Philadelphia, they're competing with the entire world. People all over the world are buying real estate in Philadelphia. So
Right.
it kind of pushes us out because they coming forward with cash. I got a deal right now. I think it's from China or whatever. It's
Hmm.
cash. And of course, at the end of the day, you and I both know it's all going to be cash, but the typical seller, they just want in and out. And whatever you do, I would never tell a buyer don't do a home inspection. So now you got that going on, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't tell nobody that. If they choose to do that, they will sign an addendum that I did not tell them not to do a home inspection.
And I understand. I had one sale during the pandemic where I was a listing agent, and the house was well maintained, and it was obvious that it was well maintained. Like the buyer submitted her offer, $10,000 EMD, and or I'm sorry, earnest money deposit, and she waived the inspection. But her real estate agent was qualified enough to go through that house and say, okay, this is an issue, this is an issue, or that's an issue. But she bought the house. and the house appreciated even more since she's been there. So it's incredible to me how much opportunity there is if you can find a property that meets your needs. And so one way that you could build wealth through real estate is buying property with another person.
Yeah.
Another way you can do it is build a block with your family. Um, Getting a property and refurbishing the house and moving in yourself, one bit at a time, if that's something that you could do. There are a lot of different opportunities, but my concern is that there are a lot of first time homeowner uh home buyer programs all over the city on any given day, but they don't talk about the important stuff. And I think that the thing that you're saying today is something to consider. What would you say is an opportunity for people right now, like in your experience and you're looking at the market? Is it's not advice, it's just bringing highlight to an opportunity that you might see either that's currently occurring or something that is emerging in the future for people who are interested in buying property
Yeah.
to build wealth.
I think the first thing is to have a startup home, right? I mean, people watch HGTV and these celebrities and all this and that. Start off with getting the house.
Hmm.
The house may not have everything that you're seeing on television and all of that, but at least start off with there, put some money aside, save your money. Once you get in and get a home, it's going to be much easier to get the secondary home and the third home and all of that, because now they will be able to see your mortgage history. Mortgage is a very large percentage on your credit. I think the last time I saw it was about 35% of your credit. So
Right.
if you're late on your mortgage, that's a problem, right? And you got to go get that taken care of. And we talked about housing counselors, and you can go to them. God forbid you lose your job or whatever. I would recommend go right away, because there's programs. You got PHFA, they help
Hmm.
when that happens, right? Or one of your loved one died, that helps. And that's another thing. I was listening to your commercial. You have all kinds of insurances. I
Right.
will say that in my career and being an entrepreneur, I have pulled money out of insurance policies in order to buy properties.
Hmm.
Now you got to go and assess that with somebody. At the time I started at 24, so I was buying insurance policies. So, the rates was much lower because of my age. I was much younger. So that was another way of pulling cash, because that's the thing, right? Black people, the average black person, we don't have an uncle to just, hey, can I get like 10 grand? Mm-mm. No, it's capital. Other people got access to capital. I was talking to a colleague of mine. He said, this developer friend of his, he had somebody from Saudi Arabia fly in. And that's another thing. It's a lot of foreign money, Saudi Arabian money, Chinese money. That's hard
Russia.
to compete with that, right? And
Russia.
so, yeah, Russians. Oh, yeah.
And Wall Street. Russia,
Yeah,
Wall Street.
Brazilians around here too.
Mhm.
But, so I would say start off like your first home don't have to be the end all be all. Like where I'm living at now is my end all be all. But we moved up. I grew up in a row house in Philadelphia. Then I was living in a house on South Street. I was living in a duplex on South Street. Then I moved from there. I think my mother died. My dad bought a duplex. And unfortunately, he died about a couple of months after we bought that, right? So
Oh, wow.
he takes the proceeds from the house of that, puts it into this duplex, has, reserves left over. And then I move out of the place on South Street. I move in with him. And then a few years later, I get married. I sell my husband's house, which was his parents' house. We go live in my spot for a couple of months or whatever. Then we take the money from the sale of all of that, and then we go and move to Delaware County, because we wanted the kids to, at that time, Upper Darby High School was a very good school,
Mhm.
and put them in there. And then they went to my alma mater, Lincoln University, so they was getting 50% off because I'm an alumnus. So this is how you got to have a plan. And I think a lot of times we're on emotional highs and lows that we don't sit down and talk about the plan. If your kid is not doing good in school and you're not looking at the grades, and I'm talking about high school, we won't talk about college in a minute, because when they go to college, it don't matter whether you're paying or not. The school is not obligated to give you their grades. But you have to create this atmosphere of a team. Family is a team. There are expectations from each and every one of us. The parents are expected to provide food and shelter. In the same token, we need our kids to do well in school so that they can potentially get a scholarship, whether it's the college, whether it's the trade school. And the trades, they make very, very good money. So that, matter of fact, a lot of times they make more money than a white collar. So
Right.
my plumbers, they might look like trash when they come into my office, but these guys, they making more money than me, because they getting the money from us and other people. They're not just working for me. So, that's a part of being an entrepreneur. So but the conversation has to happen, and we have to expose our kids to all the options. Take them to career days so that I don't care how old they are, even if they can't get the job, at least they'll know about the job. They got to know that. You got boys and girls clubs, there's all kinds of programs, but we got to make sure that they're participating in the right things that's going to help us have generational wealth. That's the team. Because
Okay.
the wealth can stop if the kids aren't continuing to participate.
And that makes sense what you're saying. So we're almost out of time, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to recap the things that you feel are the takeaways from this conversation today. Then I'd like you to give people an opportunity to find out how they could contact you if they'd like to uh, learn more about the services that you provide. So we're going to do the recap first and then tell people how they can contact you.
Right. Well, the first thing is I just want everyone to know that the Philadelphia Metropolitan Board of Realtors is turning 75 years old. We have advocated then, we advocate now for fair housing, the need for democracy in housing, to require these lenders to have products that will be conducive for Black people to be able to afford ownership. You can go to our website, which is Philly, PHILLY, M as in Mary, B as in boy, R as in Robert.org, to learn more about the local chapter. Nationally, it is NAREB, NAREB.com. And you can see some of the things that we talked about, the various affiliates that we have. We have an appraisal affiliate there as well, buyer's appraisal. I know that's a big thing in the news. They're very participatory in regards to that with President Biden's paid program. So I would say that do that. In regards to home ownership, we want those who want to be homeowners to consider being that. We wanted to go beyond just being a homeowner, if that's what you choose, to also become an investor. We talked about owning the block. Maybe owning the block is all of us, our families, our friends. That's how you had a community, and that's how you can control the community. We can control what we own. Also, understanding the importance of the tax benefit on that, right? The concept of team. We talked about the convergence, which is a team of housing counselors, realtists, and lenders, to make sure that whatever the concerns are of the consumers about why they're unable to buy are addressed, to make them accountable, because everybody's talking about Black home ownership. Yeah, we could talk about it, but we also need the people that got the capital to assist with that. I also want to say, remember, because we are Black, we do need our people that we are advocating for and with to support Black real estate professionals. We do exist. There's about 6% in the whole United States, and we want the appraisal business to have more Blacks in that, so that we can control our properties not being devalued by $48,000 because there's somebody that's a majority that is coming in and don't know nothing about your community. We know about our communities. So those are some very instrumental things that I would say. I'm so proud of you, Robin, and what you're doing. Please support her business, her radio program, and we're proud of you also being a member of our organization.
Well, thank you. I can't tell you enough how much I have learned as a result of being a part of PMBR, and I'm excited for the future. I'm looking forward to make some changes in my life in order to align more with the things that I believe in order to talk more about it, to bring attention to the concerns that I have, especially around housing and our neighborhoods. And I'm saying, when I say neighborhoods, I'm saying the urban centers where most Black people live. That's the part that I'd like to see changed because there are resources, but the resources aren't making it into the communities that need it. And I think that's primarily because we don't know that those resources exist. And so I appreciate your coming to speak with us today. If you're just tuning in, you just missed a fantastic show. In the Know with Robbie Coe. Our special guest today was Annette Collier, who is the acting president of PMBR, which is the Philadelphia Metropolitan Board of Realtist, which is a chapter of NAREB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. We talked briefly about the history of NAREB, why NAREB exists, and how it came to be. And we talked about some of the initiatives that NAREB offers in order to help Black homeowners, Black Americans become homeowners and to build wealth with real estate. We talked about some opportunities that people have by either having family members live together and buying a property together, or unrelated people who live together buying a property together, and then realizing the um, growth in equity that they can use for some other thing, maybe to acquire another property or go to college or start a business, whatever thing they decide they want to do with their portion of the equity. Now, next week on the show, we're going to have mortgage loan officer Teddy Pendergrass II here at In the Know with Robbie Coe. Teddy Pendergrass is a mortgage loan officer with Cross Country Mortgage. And I'm looking forward to having him as a guest. Be sure to tune in on Thursday, the 29th at 1 o'clock to learn more about his perspective related to the current state of the real estate market and how
That should be
mortgage
very
rates,
good. Teddy's a
we're going
good
to see
guy.
what happens. So I'd like you to, Annette, please tell people how they can get in contact with you at Able Real Estate and in order to learn more about the services that you provide.
Yes, my number is 267-688-0706. And our email address is able, real estate, the numeral one at gmail.com. We
I'm
got a
writing this
website
down
too.
for.
ablerealestate.net is the website.
Oh, I'm just putting this on here so that people can have an opportunity to see it. I just typed that in. I hope I did it right.
Yes, you do.
AbleRealEstate1 at gmail.com, and the telephone number is there. I want to thank you again, Miss Annette Collier, for being a guest on our show today. I appreciate all of the information, the knowledge, the expertise that you provided for everyone. And I hope to have you come back again because we're going to talk about more. I'd like to talk more about that low to moderate development that is part of your skill set, is part of your expertise, because there was surprisingly there have been a lot of real estate related articles in the Philadelphia Inquirer that I have found absolutely amazing. And so the one of the last ones that I saw, and this article appeared in the newspaper on the day that we had the faith-based event with Bishop Worsham at Fulton
Progress
Mortgage,
Plaza.
yeah, in Progress Plaza. In that on that day, there was a real estate related article saying that as far as affordable housing is concerned, that Philadelphia definitely has a lack of affordable housing. But for every unit that they create for someone that would be in the majority, we need six more for Black people. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I
It
believe
was
it.
amazing to me. It was astounding. If you have an opportunity, that date was June 9th. You can go to the Philadelphia Inquirer and read that article. There were a lot of statistics there that I found totally incredible. It was amazing to me. So I want to thank you again for tuning in to watch In the Know with Robbie Coe. I am Robin Aluko, Pennsylvania Realtist. Uh, Insurance agent and public notary, and I can be reached by calling 215-929-8845, or you can visit our website at that web URL that's scrolling across the bottom. If you're watching this in repeat, thank you for watching. And please note, we have sponsorships available. If you're interested in sponsoring this show, please call me at 484-429-6712, 484-429-678, 6712, or you can send email to Robbie, ROBI, at rko-realty.com. Thank you again. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Have a great one.